Hi guys, this video is in part of the Flippin' Friday challenge hosted by Jamie of Board or Bananas. Be sure to check out the Flippin' Friday playlist challenge link over in my description box down below. Jamie of Board or Bananas is our host and has a lovely channel. She has Board or Bananas, and she has her second channel, Board or Bananas DIY. Her channel links will be listed in the description box as well. Please go and check her channels out. In today's challenge, I wanted to recreate some beautiful pieces that I found on Pinterest. This is a lovely chandelier, and I wanted to recreate this. I love the shabby chic look, and I wanted to recreate at a much cheaper price than this gorgeous chandelier. I'm taking this Dollar Tree trash can that I've had for a while. As you notice, it has some paint, and I'm going to use it for the top portion. So I'm going to just simply cut it all the way across using my wire cutters. And once I cut it free, the section that I'll use, I'm just going to simply form it into that dome shape. I am going to just fold and carefully push it down into place, and being very careful because the edges are very not sharp, but they can scratch you or poke you, so be very careful and cautious when you do push this down. Now I'm going to gather it down at try to create a dome shape, and once I get the shape that I am wanting, I'm going to come in with some twine, and I'm going to just weave it through at certain points, not every single one of those holes, but at points where are opposite of each other, just enough to be able to almost like do a drawstring effect and pull it very tightly together. And then as soon as I tie a knot, then I'm going to just simply snip the ends off. Here you see I'm tying that knot nice and tight, and then I will snip the ends off, and here I am just flipping it over, and I'm pushing the form outwards to create that dome shape, because when I did fold it in, it did crush inwards. So now I'm going to just push it out to create that dome shape. And now I'm taking this bag of Mardi Gras beads that I thrifted, and there were quite a few, and I am going to use all these silver ones, and I'm going to place them all along the edge down at the bottom. And I needed to find out how many strands I was going to use, so I simply counted out all those little holes, and it turned out to be about 72 spaces that I was going to need to fill in. So I made sure to write that number down because I knew that this was going to take quite a bit of a process, and I didn't want to forget that number because sometimes I forget numbers. So I decided what length I wanted my chandelier parts that were hanging, dangling, to be, and I didn't want to have to make them all perfectly the same length. So I thought the best idea would be to create several different lengths. And then this way it looked like it's on purpose, and you don't have the pressure of having to have every single length the same. So after I've cut them all, and I did have to bring in some gold beads that I did have myself from Christmas, I went ahead and placed them inside of this little tin. And I'm going to use some acrylic black paint. I did try to use chalk paint at first and just hand brush it on with a paintbrush, but then that was a little tedious, and I thought, you know, the best way would be throw some gloves on, pour some acrylic paint all over these beads, and just have fun and just start mixing them all up together and just getting them completely coated. I wanted to create a shabby chic look, and what I'm going to do is paint all of these beads black and completely coat them. And then I'm going to come back with a lighter, like a creamy white, and then I'm going to distress paint the beading over the black. So I didn't want the gold or the silver to show through at all, but I do want the black to show through. So I do need to be sure that they are completely saturated and covered with the black paint. So once I have quite a few of these done, I'm taking this little rack and I'm going to just simply lay them all across the rack, and I get quite a few on there, not a whole lot. This part did take a bit of time because I only had this one rack to use, and so I'm just placing these over. And you notice I did use these gloves for this whole process. If you do decide to do this, be sure you use gloves because it's really messy, but with the gloves on, I was just fine. And I'm going to just simply set these beads all the way across so they can just sit there and dry. And once that has dried, I came back and then I replaced it with more beads. Now, once every single one of them was done, I came back with that, I believe I used plaster chalk paint from Waverly at Walmart, and I'm using this fan brush that worked perfectly because it really has a wide reach, but it doesn't hold a lot of paint, and it was perfect for what I wanted to accomplish. As you notice, you can see that a lot of the black is peeking through, and I got all of the strands. Now, this was a little tedious to do this all on the rack, so I decided to just lay some paper out on my work table, and then I just laid a whole bunch of them out and then painted them all, and then kind of rolled them around, flipped them around, and then painted the underside. Here you can see this is what I was doing. Closer to the end, I had almost all of them done at this point. But as you can see there, they look chalky, and I really love how this finish turned out. Now, once I have gotten all of these beads painted and dried, they need to be completely dry. I'm going to go on with the next step, but first I want to show you what these beads look like when they're completely dry. Here they are. They look fantastic. I love them. They have a chalky, even like a milk paint type texture, and there they are up close. I really loved these. I thought that was fantastic. I couldn't believe they were just silver and gold Mardi Gras beads. So here I'm going to just simply push them in to the holes all the way around, and I'm not planning it out. Whatever length happens to be picked up is the one that I will place on there. I'm not going for a pattern to create because they are different lengths. I'm just let them however they land, just some short, some long, as you can see there, the different lengths. And I'm already loving how this looks. Now, I do want to make sure to secure them because they're not in there completely tight. So I'm going to place, after a bead of hot glue, and then once all of them are done, then I'm going to flip it over to the underside and place a hot glue bead all the way around. And now to cover up the wire portion, I am going to place some greenery, but I don't want the black wire to peek through, so I wanted to cover the entire thing with burlap ribbon. I'm taking this burlap ribbon from from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to just make a row all the way at the bottom, and I'm just simply hot gluing it. and then I will add another row, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I am going to cover this with some greenery, and as you can see, because it is a domed shape, a rounded shape, the ribbon will not go flat, so I do have to fold it and pinch it as I go along on the second row, and I will have to do it also on the third row at the very top. So all I'm doing is just gluing it to itself where I am folding it, and then gluing it also to the wire basket. And I just go all the way around. And I am cutting the strips once I go all the way around once. I don't try to overlap and then curve them upwards to create the next row. I do go ahead and just cut them and make an exact row, and then start with a fresh row. I don't try to continue it up in a spiral shape, because I didn't know how that would work. I thought this would just be easier, and you see here I'm really gathering it up more. Hot glue seems to work really well for so many projects. Hot glue is definitely a crafter's almost best friend. And as I'm getting closer to the top, I do have a little bit left over, so I am going to just fill in those little gaps. With one last final row. And like I said, the greenery does not completely cover. You will see what is underneath, so it doesn't have to be completely perfect with the burlap. Now everything here is great except this one piece. I got a little wonky, so I need to cover it. I'm just going to take this small piece of burlap fabric and just place it over, and that's an easy fix. As you've noticed, I did add a piece of twine to hang my chandelier. Now here I have some greenery, some eucalyptus greenery from Walmart, and I'm going to just simply detach each one of these branches from the bunch, and I did cut off the stems, and all I'm doing is just hot gluing these branches down. Very easy, super easy. The only thing is that you just have to have a little bit of patience and hold it in place until the glue dries a little bit. And once I've covered it all, then I'm taking this little, isn't this cute? I loved all the white roses, and because they look like little rosebuds, so I'm just removing them. I've had this thing for years and I use it on and off for decoration, but I thought I could sacrifice this, so I'm just removing all my rosebuds from the actual stems. And after I place them where I'd like them, I'm coming back with some glue and actually placing them where I want them. Kind of creating a row at the top, evenly spaced as much as I can, and then a row at the bottom, which is wherever the two are at the top, then I'll place one in the middle at the bottom. And now I'm taking this baby's breath from Walmart, and I'm going to remove several pieces. I tried to use 2 whole bunches of the baby's breath, but I ended up using about 1.5 of those 2 bunches of baby's breath, and I'm just taking some pieces and putting them along on both sides of each rosebud. And then once I did that, I noticed that I needed a little bit more. So after I go through and add those pieces, then I will just add where it looks like it needs a balance of having some baby's breath in between all the roses. Very easy, just glue it on with hot glue. And here you can see I'm adding more pieces of baby's breath to just kind of balance it out. And you see the beads. I love how the beads look. Now I wanted to finish it off and look a little neater, so I'm taking this Dollar Tree ribbon and I'm going to just simply place it at the base of the greenery and the beginning of the beading and just hot gluing it in place. Super easy, and it looks so beautiful. And it added another beautiful shabby chic touch. I get all the way around, and I am short by about 1 inch or maybe even half of an inch. And so I just take a small piece from another ribbon that I had and just placed it in there. And here we have my beautiful shabby chic floral chandelier. Let me know in the comments what you think. For this next project, I wanted to recreate these beautiful, I don't know if you'd call them finials, but I love them. They're decorative pieces. And here you see this look. These are all the shabby chic look, and I did find them all on Pinterest. And I wanted to recreate them. I had one piece and I happened to come across another one as I was thrifting. And so here is the piece that I found I thrifted, and it's heavy metal. And so it was very similar to the one that I already owned. I had a fleur-de-lis piece. And so I'm just going to simply give it a makeover, a shabby chic makeover, by just taking some plaster chalk paint and just giving it a good kind of a thick coat, but I'm not covering all of it. Now I did get a little heavier handed on this one because I didn't want to have the look of the first picture that I showed you. I wanted to go more in the direction of the second picture that had more of the black showing. So what I did was I did go back in this piece and I did do a little bit of distressing. And here is the piece that I already had at home, and I thought it looked a little dated, but I wanted to make them match and look like a set. So they both have a very similar base, and I thought they would be perfect paired together in decor. So I'm just once again taking that plaster chalk paint and just giving a really good coat on there. I'm just slapping it on, but I'm trying very hard to not get into the grooves. I'm trying to just keep on the larger spaces, the flatter spaces, and not fill in those grooves too much, because I did want a lot of that detail to show through, because I didn't want to really do a lot of distressing. I did use the paint a little globby in places and load up my brush and put a little bit thicker in some areas than in others. This is a very simple way to update a piece of decor that you have, or a thrifted find that just needs a little bit of attention to really make it shine and really bring it into your decor style. once I let them dry, they turned out fabulous. I love them. I already had one, and the other one was just $1.99. And I think that they look really great and just as good as the pieces that I saw. Now this next craft or flip is a silver tray that I picked up for $2.99. I thrifted it, and I have several platters, and I needed one for a project that I used in one of my previous videos. And I didn't want to use a silver platter. I have some, like I said, I have some silver platters myself, but I didn't want to sacrifice them, and they're not large enough for what I needed. So I purchased this one for a simple $2.99, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I know it's gorgeous, and I'm sorry what I'm doing here, but I am painting it with black chalk paint. And I'm giving it a really thick coat. I don't know if you can tell there or not, but I did use quite a bit. I was very heavy-handed, and I did have to scoop some of it out, but I made sure to get down into all the crevices. Now, once it dried, I'm taking some white chalk paint and some plaster chalk paint because I'm going to mix up a color because I didn't want it to be white, but I didn't want plaster. I felt like the plaster was a little too dark for what I wanted. So I needed a good in-between off-white color. So once I mixed these two colors up, you notice I didn't paint the underside of the tray. No one's going to see that. And then this way I'm assured that none of it will scratch off. And so I didn't think it was important to paint the underside of my tray. But once I've taken these two paints and mixed them really well, I'm going to give a really good thick coat to my tray. I am simply going to go through, and the reasoning that the first coat is not as thick, but I am making sure to leave some of the pieces or some of the areas exposed because I do want it to look distressed without having to actually distress it. Does that make sense? I wanted a lot of the detail to show through without my having to actually sand it, either with sanding paper or with a wet sanding method. I wanted it to just be as is. So this first coat, I'm not really placing very, very thick, but I am making sure to get the areas that I do really want to cover more, and then the areas that I want to leave a little bit exposed, I'm leaving those open. And once that dries, I'm going to come through with a lot thicker paint. Now, if you haven't already, I would much appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. And in order to not miss any of my upcoming videos, be sure to click on that notification bell. Now I'm coming through with this thicker coat of paint, and when I mean thick, I laid it on thick. And I did leave some areas still exposed, and I will show you a close-up in a little bit of what I did and what the effect that I wanted to achieve. I will show you that in a moment. But I'm covering most of it. You see here I'm also, oh, I got a little bit of paint on my shirt. So, and here I'm coming in on some of the edges and filling that also in a little thickly, a little thickly, that's not even a word, a little thicker. And let me tell you, by doing this method, to me, the details of the handle and all the way around seem to stand out even more. I loved it. Now here is my tray finished, and you can see all that beautiful distressed black. There is the finish. Do you see the cracks? I wanted that crackle type look. Not completely crackle, you know, the crackle finish that was really, you know, predominant in decor like around the, I guess it was the late 80s or early 90s. I just wanted it to have a cracked appearance, as if this was very distressed and aged. And here is my project that I had used it for. Please check out this video. It is my Mackenzie Childs flip that I created with some pieces from a thrift store. If you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up like. I hope you enjoyed these pieces. I absolutely loved creating all of these, and I absolutely am going to enjoy them in my home. Please be sure to check out the playlist challenge link and also Jamie's channels. All of these links will be in the description box. Always remember to look around you for the beauty in your life. It's right there waiting for you to see it. Until the next video, have a great day.